Oh, no, I don't want your AI companion. Ew, yuck. Thanks. Oh, we're recording. Excellent. Yeah. Why did it automatically give me that pop-up? It's getting so automatic. AI is like infiltrating everything. Even when you do Google search, you can put a minus symbol, minus AI, just to turn it off. I could tell you lots of reasons, but um, now they're like bypassing that as well. And now here just on Zoom, it did an automatic pop-up with AI companion. I'm like, no, thanks. So welcome, folks, not AI, real. My name's Jill, and thanks for being here. Yeah, speaking of chaos, that's actually the topic tonight. So I was having a chat with a friend this week, and we were catching up because we haven't had a talk in a long time. And I was, yeah, sharing there's been lots of life and death these days in my realm and also in yours. I'm sure we all are, no one is immune to these arisings and passings. And so we were talking about life and death, and then we were also talking about chaos and order. Um, and so chaos and order stuck with me, and I've been reflecting more on chaos and what that really is, or is not. What we call chaos, like when we feel or when we hear ourselves saying or feeling everything's so chaotic, or my life is chaos, or the world is chaotic, might be something to get curious about. Like, what do you really mean about that? Is it actually aversion to how things are that we just call it chaos, or is it actually aversion to a lack of control around so many aspects of our lives, and we label it as chaos? So this did take me down a little wormhole or rabbit hole, um, looking into chaos and order, and we found these five principles of chaos theory, which is a mathematical construct or way of um, understanding the world. And so, first up, like all the apologies, because I'm not a mathematician. This is just me riffing on something I found interesting, and of course, relating it to the Dharma because Dharma is everything. And so I may be really making some ears bleed on this one. We'll see. So these five principles of chaos theory, the first one is that small things matter. Just letting someone in here. Small things matter. This is often referred to as the butterfly effect in chaos theory, which you have likely heard of, how um, the model or the theory that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can have this cascade effect that could result in a tornado in Texas is usually the place is given, which is interesting. I'm not sure why. We'll just say one part of the world and another part of the world. This is called the butterfly effect. And it's how tiny differences, tiny, really, in sometimes very minuscule differences in any given state or formula, something that's trying to be replicated. There's lots of examples, and then just like this slight thing is different over time can produce massive change. That's good news these days. Pretty exciting idea. Small change can produce massive, small differences can produce massive change. I'm going to cling to that one for a little bit. And it's like, you have this recipe, you've been baking bread the same way for years, and you've got it down. You're able to make very consistent bread. And one time it just doesn't turn out exactly the same way. It's not quite right. You've done all the things. You followed the recipe precisely the way you always have. You've got all the measurements. You've got the temperature of the oven the same. And it might be just that the temperature in the room is 2 degrees hotter or different than it usually is. There's variables beyond our control, and that can have this effect of really changing the outcome. And of course, the butterfly effect is another example of this. Small things matter. And this in the Dharma, through a Dharma lens, I would say, uh, is absolutely true. And you've noticed this in your own practice, in your own relating to yourself, in your own skillfulness or lack of skillfulness, how starting your day with your precepts and your intentions of how you want to be in the world can be a small thing that can create a massive ripple effect of how you move through the world and how you interact with others and then how they interact with others, etc. Or, showing up here for practice, for dharma, for community. And these have ripples beyond our knowing. Absolutely. There's so many examples. Another aspect of another principle of chaos theory is unpredictability. That nothing is linear. The future is not linear. This relates very much to our understanding the truth, the law of karma or kama in Pali, Kamma, karma in Sanskrit, and that, and this is often confused in relation to karma, that, and it comes out in a really nasty accusatory way sometimes, or in memes like, you got what you deserved, karma, like as if there's A plus B equals C. That happened to you because of whatever. And this unpredictability is very much a part of the law of karma, that probability is true, not predictability, and there are patterns and there is cause and effect, but it's not just linear. What I do just ripples back to me. The ripples are boundless in the same kind of butterfly effect way. So that's another Dharma spin on chaos theory. The third law of chaos theory is complexity. And this is the truth, uh, one of the characteristics of all things that the Buddha awoke to, that everything is connected, boundless interconnection and variables that are beyond our control, absolutely complex. And this is the truth, the one of the three characteristics of anatta, of not self, to see that who I take myself to be is not separate, continuous, isolated self, but absolutely interconnected and complex and ever changing uh, lifeness. That's a new word. The fourth principle of chaos theory is self organization. This is very interesting. And there's some debate about it, but that sometimes order emerges from chaos. And we can see this in like a murmuration of starlings, oh, they're so gorgeous to watch, right? The beautiful clouds of birds that it looks like chaos, but they're moving in these formation together in this sense of order within that chaos, or like a school of fish, uh, a swarm of insects, or even sometimes like a big crowd of people. You can see that up close, it maybe looks like chaos, but there's this movement of people that can be orderly. It shows up in nature in all kinds of ways. And it's that can be helpful for us to remember this the nature of what we're calling chaos or what feels like a lack of control. Um, and to see that there's big patterns, there's big pictures, there's big mm, systems at play. We can see this through history um, as history repeats itself. The last one of these principles of chaos theory is called fractals and repeating patterns. Mm, I'm just thinking of another example. So let me put that aside. Okay, fractals and repeating patterns. So this is when a very complex shape looks the same at any magnification. If you zoom way out or zoom way in, it's the same pattern or form. And so what it can mean through a Dharma lens is that a small sample represents the whole. And I think that's very interesting. I find if I'm feeling like the world is fill in the blank, uh, yeah, all the things. I don't need to list them for any of us. Um, then to see, is that a reflection of what's happening in my heart, body, mind? If I'm feeling the world is chaotic, am I feeling chaotic? And that's, this small representation of a bigger whole. Hmm, maybe. We can see these kind of repeating patterns and fractals very much in nature. Again, in trees, in rivers and their tributaries, in snowflakes. Um, there's infinite ways. Yeah. And yeah, I was kind of inspired by some of these mathematical principles that are pointing to the nature of things, including ourselves, and how They really are mirroring a lot of aspects of the Dharma, our interconnectedness, the understanding of cause and effect, of karma, the complexity and the lack of control in a world where we're often trying so hard to control variables of complexity that are beyond our control. And that helps us then to look at what do I have agency over, and connects us to how this small sample of self can represent and have an effect on the whole. So what do I have agency over? Yeah, this practice of cultivating generosity of heart and care and interconnectedness. This practice of calming the mind out of its reactivity, understanding that how we are internally affects what we say and what we do and affects others in this vast ripple. And maybe our desire to try and control or to create order from chaos, we maybe have a preference for order and over chaos, and our aversion to unpredictability is inaccurate because actually these theories of chaos, and when we look at chaos, it actually has order in it. It actually has interconnectedness. It actually has this butterfly effect and this self-organizing capacity. One of the examples of the self-organizing is like if you picture a bunch of hexagon shapes and lay them out on a table like a jigsaw puzzle, you could put them together side by side, edge by edge, and fill the table with like honeycomb. Um, but then if you smush them all together in a pile, it looks like chaos. And then if you gently shake or shimmy the table, if it had edges on it, eventually it would settle back into laying side by side, back into that sense of order. Yeah, this self-organizing nature of what feels like chaos. So these were some tools that I thought might be helpful for us in a time when many of us are feeling overwhelmed with the chaos and unpredictability and harm that's happening all around us. Um, and to understand what we can do about that, what we can cultivate and um, trust in these bigger systems, these laws of nature, the law of karma, the truth of interconnectedness, the truth of impermanence, and the truth of dukkha and its cause, clinging. So if we're clinging to try and create order because we think chaos is bad or we have an aversion to it, it's really that it's just unpleasant and we've created an aversion to it. This could be something that's helpful to reflect on a bit more. Hmm. Yeah, so that was a really random rabbit hole. I'm fully aware of that, but hopefully there was some Dharma sprinkled in. And it's not usually like this. So if this is your first time dropping in, it's not usually such random chaos theory. Well, maybe it is actually. now that I think about it. Oh, dears. So let's practice. Let us practice. Set aside your distractions. I'm just going to have a sip of water. Hmm. There was this quote I read, and it's not attributed to someone, or I couldn't find who. Life occurs at the intersection of chaos and order. And I had titled this for myself, Chaos, Order, and Still Point. But the more I went down this rabbit hole, I see there isn't really a difference between chaos and order. Um, so life occurs at this intersection of chaos and order. Let's check it out. Hmm. Settling, letting all of those fluttery words just flutter on by or flutter down. Nothing to hold on to here. These are all just pointers and suggestions that point us towards looking closely at the true nature of things. And so now we just let the words float away and come into this cultivation of what could be called the still point, which is accessed through this first foundation of mindfulness, mindfulness of body. And we'll just start with a really simple settling body scan from the crown of the head, feeling awareness trickling over the flesh of the face and the muscles underneath. And noticing if there's any tension there that isn't needed that could soften or let go a little bit. Awareness sweeping across the shoulders and down the back of the neck, lengthening muscles as the shoulder bones experience their weight instead of being held up in our fight or flight response, where the shoulders get pulled up towards the ears. Just let the bones be heavy. Feel that weight slide down the arms, through the elbows into relaxed hands. I find it helpful to take 2 or 3 slightly deeper breaths and feeling the movement of the ribs, the chest, the back. When I do this, it helps me realize that maybe I've been holding or tight. As the breath settles back into natural breath, we can still feel maybe some ease or movement through these areas. Checking in with the deep inner layers of the belly. When these are activated with stress, fight or flight, freeze, they press on the vagus nerve. So just checking in deep inner layers of the abdomen, further back towards the spine, and see if some degree of softening, letting go, kind attention or release could come. And as the body continues relaxing, settling, we could start to feel more weightedness, heaviness, groundedness through the hips, pelvis, legs, feet, like grains of sand in an hourglass, awareness seeping into the lower portion of the body, relaxing the thighs, buttocks, and feeling our relationship with the earth, that we are nature, and we allow ourselves to rest in that relationship with nature. And just seeing if there's any other areas of tension that might not be needed right now. Maybe it is. You can decide. See if there's any other softening or settling or presence that's helpful. And because the small things matter, and because of our inextricable interconnectedness, we'll take some time now to energize our precepts. So if these are unfamiliar to you, you might just reflect on your own values or ethics that guide your life, guide your practice, guide your daily, how you want to show up in the world. For some of us, these are these trainings that we have undertaken to refrain from causing harm and taking life, to refrain from taking more than is freely given, understanding this interconnectedness and how consumption and greed and desire has a vast effect globally. And we really call up this energy to refrain from taking more than is freely given in all of the resources. And we remind ourselves of this training to refrain from causing harm with our words through false speech and harmful speech. This can be internal speech and how we speak to ourselves, in our written speech, certainly in our social media and texting and quick posts, even if we're sharing someone else's words, if we're sharing them, this is part of our speech now. So our intention to not spread falsehoods and to not speak harshly and harmfully. And we continue to affirm our training to refrain from causing harm through our sexuality and our sensuality, all of our sense doors that are so driven by desire and aversion and delusion. And lastly, this precept of refraining from causing harm from intoxicants, which can bring heedlessness, lack of mindfulness. So this can be drugs and alcohol. It could be all of the addictions to our phones and devices and anything that's intoxicating to us. And see how it creates a lack of mindfulness or creates heedlessness. So you may have other values that guide your life, or resonating with these five, feel them as an energy that moves up your spine, your backbone, your strength, your inner core, your uprightness. And you might draw in the feeling of support of your skillful ancestors, whether they're chosen or birth ancestors, your teachers, your mentors, your guides, that have also done their best to live ethically, and feel that support at your back. Strong back and soft front, receptive, relaxed face, hands, belly, heart center. And between these, we might feel this sense of a still point. Some might feel it in the heart center, chitta. Some might feel it in the belly, the hara. You might feel it somewhere further back in the skull. Is there a place that feels like that plumb line, that still point between seeming chaos and order, right at this intersection? And we let ourselves just drop in here, right in the midst where life is occurring in this intersection. If you would like, you could choose an anchor for your practice, or you could just rest in this more open awareness of mindfulness of body, anchoring with the whole field of the body in the center of this complexity, in the center of this interconnectedness and unpredictability. Even if you're choosing an anchor like breath or sensations or sounds, you'll definitely experience the changing nature of it. Allow yourself to deeply know the felt experience of resting in the center of what the mind might call chaos. Resting in the still point of everything arising and passing, most of it out of our control, all of it boundlessly interconnected and complex, and all of it affected by the law of karma. If you feel like your attention or the mind states are too chaotic, what does it feel like as a direct felt experience to just rest, letting chaos continue bubbling, like dropping an anchor and watching the waves above? You don't have to control the mind, just let it be and let awareness rest, knowing all of it coming and going. Life occurs at the intersection of chaos and order. Stay here. Drop that plumb line right into the center of this moment, center of the body. This poem is called Wrestled by Chaos by Rosemary Watola Tromer. Wrestled by chaos. This grave day, when it seems I cannot play, I do. I go to the graveyard and find someone who died on my birthday. I sit at the small metal marker and read poems about birth and death. I sing Another One Bites the Dust and dance in my bare feet. And when the dog starts to scratch at the earth and flings dirt all over my legs and lap, I laugh at a great idea and rub the dirt into my skin, then cover myself in big handfuls of red dirt, marking myself as dust. Here in the autumn sun, surrounded by tombstones that have long since lost their names, it's so easy to remember how short this life. What a gift to be alive. What a gift to be wrestled by chaos and find myself still thirsty for another day, another day. Thank you, friends, for coming along on that unpredictable ride. I hope there's some guidance and sweetness for us all as we are have this vast butterfly effect that is beyond our knowing. May we continue to cultivate skillfulness, generosity, kindness, and compassion. Thanks for joining us.